mum me, as in mother me, as in be your own mother to yourself, because there is also a mother within you, and it's your adult self who is mother to your younger self that still lives within you. And I think it's so important that we know and we remember that there is still a younger you that very much is still alive and still lives within you, and she is so vibrant and she is so vulnerable and fragile, and she needs you, or he needs you. And so it's so important to be that parent to yourself, especially if you haven't had a parent.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cilia Li Show. It's your girl Cilia. If you know me personally, you know that I'm all about self-love. I call myself a self-love coach because that's what I do as a coach. And healing as well. Healing is self-love, and healing comes in many forms. And a lot of times when we say healing, we hear it could be like doing all this inner work. It could be seeing a therapist. It could be maybe going to doing plant medicine. But there's one way that I never actually didn't think of, and that is art. And so today I invited the founder of Paints and Prosecco, and it's a live drawing event where basically people obviously like draw the women's body and also men's body, and it's basically a very holistic way of healing and building, I guess, self-love and body confidence. Anyway, let me just stop talking. Let me just introduce this girl. Welcome, Nadia.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. So appreciate you holding space.
Thank you so much for coming. So I met you, kind of seen you from dance. To be honest, I don't know if you remember me. I believe I met you just before COVID, in a flex class.
Oh, with
Cresta in gym box.
Yeah. Oh wow. And that was like a 4-week program, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. And I mean, your face looks familiar, and I knew you was from dance, but I know we haven't really like had the time to connect. So yeah.
Tell me, what does self-love mean to you? What does it look like to
Okay,
you?
we're starting with the big topic, the big one. So self-love. The way I hear people talk about self-love these days, I think there's like a nice side to it, and there's a nice side to it, and then there's a real side. And I think the nice side of self-love that I hear is, go to the gym, do a face mask, have a bubble bath.
First of all, just cut you there.
Yeah.
Bubble bath, face mask, they're self-care, they're not self-love. But no, continue.
Right, okay, maybe I'm getting that a little bit. Yeah. So again, that's kind of like how, when I think of how people talk about self-love, it very much comes from that space, which is fine, by the way. And I think like it's important to look after yourself.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
Yeah. But to me, self-love means self-acceptance. So when I say self-acceptance, I mean accepting the darker parts of yourself, accepting the parts of yourself that aren't as desirable, accepting the parts of yourself that you feel ashamed by, or even just the parts that aren't so pretty. That to me is self-love, being able to show up for yourself and being able to accept yourself even when you don't really feel yourself in that moment.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That is perfect. Because you know how you said that the self-love, people like Instagram, self-love is the nice stuff, but people don't really talk about the bad stuff. So I always say self-love isn't as easy as, let me say the affirmations, I am beautiful, all that kind of stuff. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
Or let me put my phone on do not disturb, let me do what makes me feel good, or things like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I call that the beginner's level of self-love.
Yeah, the starter package.
Yeah, the starter package, yeah.
Yeah.
But self-love is actually can be very painful and can be very hard, which, for example, self-acceptance, because like some people, a lot of us, we judge our past, things like that, and that's where self-acceptance comes in. And it could be also like having boundaries is a big part of self-love, and we could be in a let's say relationship, which is the most common way to use as an example.
Yeah.
You're in a relationship doesn't serve you, it's toxic, or you could be even that person disrespecting you or whatever. A lot of times people stay in it, but you have to love yourself enough to walk away from it. But it's painful because you love that person.
Yeah.
But you got to honor your needs and love yourself enough to walk away.
I know that feeling. I've definitely been there.
Yeah, me too.
A few times.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So
but we grow and we move.
Yeah, exactly.
And we get better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's where like the hard part of self-love is, and also, like you said, the dark side, and it's hard. Self-love is hard. It's not just, let me write my book, journal my feelings today, like that. Yeah, I mean, then those help, like you said, starter package, but like the boss level, I call it again the boss level.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't even want to make it seem like it's a hierarchy thing of, oh, I'm so much better than people because I look at the shadows and the darkness. Yeah. But I do know that an equal blend of both is needed. So looking also like at the lighter side, like you said, saying the affirmations, because these things, they boost our confidence, they boost our self-esteem. Some people find it very hard to look in a mirror and say really nice things about themselves. So I do understand that practice in itself is something that is necessary. I'm not trying to say it's not necessary. I think it's very helpful. And I think it's very good for, especially for the person who you are trying to become, just affirming and manifesting that person that you're trying to become. But I also feel that in order to have more of a holistic, as you said, more of a holistic view and understanding of self-love, it does require you to look at the uglier parts and the parts that don't seem so desirable.
Yeah. And also embodiment. Like you can say all the stuff that you want, that you are this and this and that, but if you're not embodying it, like if you don't embody self-love, then do you really?
And that's hard.
Yeah.
By no means of the imagination do I even claim to be someone who has reached that pinnacle of self-love where I can say, yeah, like I know exactly what to do. There's definitely moments and times where I self-sabotage and I relapse and I go back into my old ways. But then it's in those moments where I've got to like pick myself up and remind myself of where I am now, and to also remind myself that I've done a lot of work, I'm doing a lot of work, and it's in my best interest to try and, like you said, embody that part of me, to become that part of me. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's within all of us.
Yeah.
And it's important that when you do catch yourself in those moments where you start relapsing, you have to kind of, pause, take a deep breath and say to yourself, is this the way I want to show up for myself right now? Or am I falling into my old habits? Ask yourself, is this who I claim to be now? Which can be hard because you got to almost catch yourself in the moment and say out loud sometimes, am I showing up for myself the way I want to? But I think that takes practice, that takes a lot of patience with yourself, because you kind of almost got to pull yourself out of the situation as if like it's almost like your higher self is looking at your present self, right? And you almost got to like pull yourself out of the situation and say, is this how you want to show up? And it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to kind of go back and then realize, oh, do you know what? I messed up there.
Have compassion for yourself.
Yes, compassion. Yeah, just pace yourself. And I think it's in those moments where you're able to have compassion and you're able to pull yourself from that space and realize, okay, no, I'm falling back into my old space, but I want to be better. It's in that moment where you've got a grip on self-love.
Yeah.
That compassion.
Yeah.
So that to me is self-love.
The way you talk about self-love and the way you just articulate that, I could just feel like you're talking from experience, from something. So earlier when you said about self-acceptance, is it to do with that's reason why you you did the is it a campaign, Mummy?
Yes.
Talk about that. What is it?
That was a good segue, by the way.
Yeah.
It was a really good segue. Oh geez, Mummy. Mummy. So first of all, just to kind of introduce what Mummy is for those who don't know, Mummy is a painting that I created in lockdown, in 2020 lockdown. And it's a painting that illustrates the journey of self-love, inner child healing, but most importantly, self-parenting.
Love that.
So originally when I created the painting, I was going through a very difficult time. And I think that was the case for a lot of people.
When was it? Is it COVID
So
time?
this was during 2020 lockdown, the big lockdown where like the whole world just went on silent mode.
Yeah.
And obviously, as we know, there was like a lot of tragedy and a lot of hardship and a lot of deaths. It was a very difficult, scary, anxious, worrying time. But for myself in that time, I remember I was going through quite a difficult breakup, or at least the back and forth of what that looked like. And I was also going through grief. I'd lost my granddad just a few months before, and a few other losses that happened the year before, which really took an impact on myself. So I kind of went through a spiral of depression. And during that lockdown is when, of course, like with most people, you were forced to look inward, you were forced to reflect, you were forced to be introspective. And I remember at the time, like as I was going through like all of the ups and downs with the breakup and everything, I just remember I was reading, or not even that I was reading, I got into a space where I was being triggered by absolutely everything. And I was almost getting so fed up with myself, not understanding why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And I was thinking there has to be a deeper reason for this.
What were you feeling?
Oh, geez, a whole lot of things. I was feeling just, I guess it was just feeling triggered and really sensitive to everything and like everything that was going on with like the relationship and with family and the fact that I'm grieving and just, you know, if you combine all three of those things together, it's an absolute shit show. Like,
It sounds like you were going through the dark night of the soul.
yeah, feels like that. It was definitely dark. Ain't no doubt about that. I can laugh about it now, and I'm like, praise God that I can laugh about it now, because that was a very tough time. But I just remember, you know, in that moment, I was very much sitting with myself, sitting in my darkness, and I got to a point where I just wanted to learn more about myself. I wanted to learn why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Where is this coming from? So I'd really deep dived into all of those things. And then I found this book online. It was called How We Love. And it's by a couple actually called Milan and Kay Yerkovich. And in the book, they talk about attachment styles and they talk about, you know, why you are this way and how that came about and what may have caused that and what did you go through in your childhood that has now led you to be this attachment style. And when I looked at that, I was like, wow, this is so interesting. Because even though I knew of some of these things, it was just so validating to read that in a book and see that there's other people who have also gone through the same thing, which I thought I was crazy for, by the way. But when I saw that there were certain signs or certain behaviors that were happening in my household, and then seeing how that has almost transcended and translated into the adult I am today, I was like, okay, now this is making sense. This makes sense. And for the first time in a very long time, I was finally able to feel a sense of peace, because I got to a place where I now knew what the problem was, so therefore I knew how to fix it. So having that almost that engineering kind of mind of, when you know what the problem is, you know how to get into it, you know how to navigate that issue.
It's very empowering when you know about sort of the science behind things and psychological reasons for the way you are as an adult.
Yes.
Because so like recently I just been going through like a heartbreak myself.
Oh, man.
So I'm still grieving over it, and thank goodness I have one of my best friends. She's a psychologist, a therapist. So she's been helping. It's just through conversation. She would tell me to be like, okay, you know what, the reason why you're feeling this way or you're triggered is because of your childhood, da, da, da. But because she explains stuff to me, it's like a sense of relief, like, oh, so I'm not, like you said, I'm not crazy. No wonder why I'm being triggered because of this, da, 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 all that kind of stuff. And so, so I think it's actually important for people to really go inwards and look into heal the inner child.
Yeah, it takes courage, and it's not easy to do, because it definitely brings up a lot of difficult emotions, very conflicting emotions. You know, especially if you look, because, you know, you kind of got to look at your caregivers, and you got to look at the people who have been on this journey with you. And then, you know, when you deep dive and look into it, it can be so conflicting because you love these people, but these people may have equally hurt you in some way. So then you're trying to find a balance of not gaining resentment, but also validating the fact that this happened to you, and now this is a result of the reason why you are the way you are, right? So there was a lot in that. And I just remember there was like a certain part in the book that clicked to me. And I remember one of so the book's really interesting because it's kind of like it's like a 2-part book package. And one of the books talks on the theory, and the other book is like a workbook, so you can actually write in it and talk about your experiences. So there's like prompted questions, and then you answer the questions. So there was one particular question which I feel inspired this whole piece, and the question was to describe a moment in your childhood where you felt unsafe. And it's when I dived into that experience that the floodgates just and I was like, man. And that moment highlighted to me that there is so much pain in that side of myself, in that inner child side of myself. And it really took me aback for a few days, like just reading that and being able to answer it, but not realizing that's what it was. As soon as I was able to, I guess, expand that thought and pull it out there and put it in front of myself and say, "Rah, this is what it is." That was for me the moment when Mummy just popped into my head, and I was like, I need people to understand that the pain that we feel is due to the pain of our inner child. And it was in that moment that I was like, I need people to understand it. If they don't understand it, I need them to understand it. But I want to communicate it in a way where they're able to connect it with their own story.
Very powerful.
So that's when Mummy came about. And even the name itself, again, that was a name I honestly feel that was God-given. And I'm not saying that in like a egotistical, like, oh, look at me kind of way. It's really not that. It's, you know, like even the word itself, mummy, it's a spin off the word mummy. But I broke it down into mummy as in mother me, as in be your own mother to yourself, because there is also a mother within you, and it's your adult self who is mother to your younger self that still lives within you. And I think it's so important that we know and we remember that there is still a younger you that very much is still alive and still lives within you. And she is so vibrant and she is so vulnerable and fragile, and she needs you, or he needs you. And so it's so important to be that parent to yourself, especially if you haven't had a parent to be that for you.
So talk more about the actual paint. It was painting, wasn't it?
It's a painting. Yeah, acrylic on canvas.
And you also you wrote a poem for it as well, didn't you?
I didn't write a poem.
No, there was a letter. Sorry, not poem, letter.
Yes, I did. I did do a letter. That letter was It was slightly different because it was a letter to my dad. I think that's the one that you may be talking
It was
about.
on a website I saw.
Yes, it was on a billboard. It was for
yeah.
Mental Health Awareness Week.
Oh, so it's two different things, not
That was
Okay,
a separate
okay.
thing. But shout out Self Space, who is the brand, and Calling Studio as well, who helped put the whole campaign together. So both of them kind of collaborated and did like this huge thing, and it got a lot of traction and stuff like that. But yeah, that was separate, but still very much connected to the whole story.
That's probably why I got them in my head. Subconsciously, I got them interconnected.
Yeah.
And I saw that painting with Mummy. Like, it's so beautiful. Like, just by looking at it, it's just so powerful.
Thank you.
And it was so touching. Like, we don't really have much words to say, but it's just so touching. You know, it's just so powerful. Because I never used to appreciate art. Like, you know, to be like, okay, it's just a painting. You know, I don't get it. But that one, actually, for the first time, like, I get it. I really hope you're liking this episode so far, and if you are, then please give me a like. If you're on Spotify, give me a follow. If you're on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you also won't miss any new episodes, any content, and also you'll be helping me grow my YouTube channel. Please, that would mean the world to me. All right, anyway, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. And you know what you just said about I don't have the words? I feel like language restricts us of expression. There's many words, even in other languages, that can't be translated into English. So I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where like you're speaking with someone and you're like, oh, how do you say this in your language? And they're like, there's not really a word for that. And you're like, oh, okay, what does it sound similar to? They're like, oh, it kind of sounds a bit like this, so we can just use that. But again, that's a restriction because that's not the specific feeling and emotion that you were trying to articulate. So in that sense, that's where I feel art has a way of healing the heart through non-communication with words, but more so communication with feeling and intuition and visuals, and how you, as the person with the lens, interprets that for yourself. And I think there's something really powerful in that for that reason.
Have you always been into art?
Yeah, it's part of me, man.
So did you paint because of healing purposes or just because you was interested in art?
A little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like even that story in itself is quite interesting because there's a time in my life where I can hands up say I hated painting. I used to say to people, I hate painting. And now I'm a painter. So yeah, there was like a time in my life where I used to say, I don't like painting. I hate, no, in fact, I used to say I hate painting. And when I deep dived into why I hated it, it was because I didn't know how to do it. And it was the fear of getting it wrong. So that's another thing of me being this perfectionist and wanting to do it like perfect. But then I realized, obviously, as we know, perfectionism is like the death of creativity. It's the death of progress. Do you know what I'm saying? So with the painting thing, again, I feel like everything's always connected to a breakup. This was a different one. This was like a different one some years ago. And I remember with that particular one, there was like a lot of deeper stuff that made me realize why I need to start painting. But ultimately, it was my outlet and way of just expressing emotions that I found, again, really difficult to express through words. And also to kind of start something new and almost reinvent myself, you know, as women sometimes, especially, you know, in your younger years. And now it happens, but sometimes we lose ourselves in relationships. Sometimes... let me speak for myself. Sometimes there were moments where I felt like I lost myself in the relationship that I was in, and I lost like a sense of identity. I was very much completely consumed with their life and what they were doing, and in that moment, I didn't really give a lot of space for myself to grow. So that's, again, something that I'm working through, hopefully getting better at. I'm not in a relationship at the moment, but we're getting there. And yeah, painting was just my way of just working through those emotions. And then I just fell in love with it. I literally just fell in love with it, and it became like a type of meditation and a way for me to just think and a way for me to process my feelings and my thoughts.
So how did you start painting Prosecco?
Paints and Prosecco, a year before, I used to work for this company called the Paint Republic, and it was based on like a paint and sip brand. So originally Paints and Prosecco was based on paint and sip. I started it off in 2018. And it was inspired by what I was doing at the time. So when I broke up with that long 5-year relationship or whatever, I remember I got this job as an artist host. And I was working as a paint and sip artist host, and I had to hold events and I had to teach people how to paint. So they had a canvas, I had the master painting, and I would show people step by step, stroke by stroke, how to create this painting from start to finish. And then I fell in love with the idea, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to do my own thing. That didn't go so well with the previous company. Got sacked because of it. Because they was like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. That was my bad. I shouldn't have moonlighted, if that's what they call it. But yeah, I do give thanks to them, because they gave me the foundations and the inspiration, and it made me fall in love with myself. It made me fall in love with the process of just being a creative. So yeah, started up Paints and Prosecco, did that for all of about 4 months. And then I just spiraled one day and then just left the baby to die.
Why?
I know that sounds so morbid. It even sounds horrible me saying. I, again, was going through some crazy stuff. This was like, just a year before COVID. So it was, leading up to that next relationship that had a lot of stuff. And the thing is, I don't like to put too much blame on it. And that was another thing that I had to kind of sit with myself and say, you can't be blaming certain situations in your life for the reasons why you haven't progressed in your own stuff. It's not the way to be. It's not the way to go about things. And it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to point the finger and say, you're the reason why I didn't get what I want. It's so easy to do that. Because it means you don't have to look at yourself. And you don't have to put the blame on yourself and feel the pain for yourself.
That's what part of healing is, taking accountability.
Yeah. And that was hard, and that was so difficult. So in 2023, just last year, May, I decided to bring it back to life again, because it was something that was holding heavy on my heart space. And I was like, I don't like the fact that I started this thing. I left it to die because of all of these things that I was going through. And that didn't sit right with me. I was having bad dreams about it. It was literally coming in my dreams, like in really weird ways. But then I realized what it was about. And then, restarted it, but with a slightly different model this time. I thought, I'm going to go down the life drawing route. I'm going to do something where I feel like I can pour more purpose into it and maybe connect it with myself and connect it with light and shadow and
why
stuff
life
like
drawing?
that. Why life drawing? Simply because I love how connected it is to humanity, to people. I love how it allows people to be their authentic selves, to sit in who they are, where there's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to be unseen, but to be completely seen, to be completely heard, and to know that you are going to be accepted for exactly who you are and how you show up.
When I hear about life drawing, I think it also is a good way for women to be in touch, connected to their body,
Yes.
but also a way to build that self-love, body confidence, that relationship with their body, like you said, basic acceptance, accept how their body, how their body look, and being comfortable, just be seen, but don't look at it as in a sexual way, but literally just this is my body, and then you see people's art, people's interpretation of what you look through art, and I think it's a beautiful thing as well.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, I always say it's testament to the models that I work with, because they're just so brave and they're so courageous, and they show up and they sit in the light of all of these people, just looking at them, observing them, looking at every feature, every lump and hump and bump on their body, every dip, every scar, every flaw. And they just have to sit and they just have to accept that this is how I am.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. But it's such an empowering experience, because again, they're able to, in the process, accept themselves.
Have you done it? Have you been a life model?
I haven't. I've never been one. Yeah. And people ask me this all the time. They said, "Oh, Nads, would you be a life model?" And I'm being a bit of like a coward, slyly, because I know that at some point I'm going to have to do it. I can't be teaching this and not do it. I think I'm slowly building up the confidence in myself to do that. But again, like, my life drawing classes is very much a space where I am also learning confidence. People think, oh yeah, she's got it all together. Absolutely not. Like, I'm such a work in progress. Like, I'm still gaining the courage, but what I am finding is, through the life drawing experiences, I'm finding a deeper level of acceptance within myself in a different way. So it might not be take off my clothes and pose, but it's in a way and in a sense where I'm showing up for myself in ways where what has probably made me feel ashamed in the past, or made me feel a little bit like about myself, I'm now stepping into that power and stepping into that acceptance and being like, you know what, this is who I am.
I hear you, like, because I actually had some women come on before. She was a life model.
Yes.
And
yes.
I asked her, like, I even said to Amy, I said, that's so brave of you for doing that. And also, she's Chinese, so in our culture, it's like a taboo, you know what I mean? Like, sexuality, like sex, that it's just taboo. So the fact she's doing it, I was like, what does your mum think of your son? And she was like, well, my mum knows about it, but we just don't talk about it from there. Okay. But she said she loves it. It's so empowering and
liberating.
Liberating. Exactly. That's exactly she described it. And I said, even though I'm a confident person, like, I'm at peace with my body, but having to sit there,
it's a lot.
Like, naked is just.
I salute.
It's a different type of confidence.
I salute all the models that come through on my platform and just step into their power at their highest level of confidence and just show up for themselves, because they are queens.
Where do you find
absolute
them?
Queens? So at first, I made a flyer, like an advert, and I said, oh, who wants to be part of it? I got a few people who showed some interest. Life models usually know life models. Like how teachers know teachers, is that kind of vibe. And then slowly and so on, they've just kind of gravitated. Now I actually get people coming to me directly in my DM saying, oh my goodness, seen your platform, love it, want a model, when can I do it? So now I've got models coming to me and I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. So yeah, people are seeing that there's a level of trust and authenticity and safety in the space. So it feels good.
I thought recently you also had a man.
I did.
Talk about that.
I did,
so, like, so obviously I'm assuming men also have the same security as women, but
absolutely,
So how was it like? I don't know if you can speak for them, but what do you think was it like for them?
So for the people who are wondering, did he take it off? No.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people are thinking, did he get it out? No, he didn't. He covered himself up.
Okay.
And I always give my models the choice and the freedom to say you can be as naked or as covered as you want. Obviously, it is a life drawing class, so there has to be some level of skin that needs to be on show for the anatomy to like, you know, capture the muscle and you know. But in terms of how he showed up on the day, I just remember him saying that because he's quite built, he's like a gym guy, and you know, to the typical woman that looks like all male gaze. And that was something that he struggled with, because he said, look, like, I understand that this is something that people look at, or sorry, I don't want to make it seem like it's only women and men, because let's be real, this is we're in this world now. But his thing of coming on stage and doing that was more of, I want to show you, I want to sit with my body, and for you to see it as a story behind the hard work and the discipline that I've put into building it to this way. So when a lot of people look at a body where it's all trim and shredded, and
he didn't wake up like that,
right? Yeah,
like that,
like this is a testament to the discipline, to, you know, the times when he has said no to the takeaways, said no to the alcohol, woken up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whenever he's doing it, made sure that he's showing up for himself on a daily basis, and all of the sacrifices that he's made to get to this point. But not only just for his body, but also for his mental health. Because there's a big thing around, you know, masculinity, mental health, but especially with Black men and masculinity and their mental health. So a lot of this was also a testament to, you know, what he does to maintain a good sense of mental health, a good sense of balance within himself. And in the life drawing class, that was what it was about. It was about helping people to see, look, we understand, cool, he looks great. Yes, he does. But this is also testament to what he does to show up for him. This is his type of self-love. This is how he maintains himself. This is how he creates a sense of stability within himself. So there was, you know, it definitely expanded into other things that were very much health related and well-being related and stuff like that. But it was phenomenal, and it was so lovely. It was the first guy we had on the show. I gave him like a bunch of flowers at the end. And he even said, he goes, this is the first bunch of flowers I've ever been given in 30 years of my life. And it felt so good to give them to him. So I was like, this is good. I'm glad. Yeah.
So are your painters all women? Is it women only event, or?
I would say it's predominantly women, but it doesn't only have to be women, as obviously we've had a guy before, and that was out of public demand. So we thought, okay, cool, let's get something different. And also it was, I believe it was Black History Month, and we was also looking at the male masculine, and, you know, also looking at the fact that we're looking at the masculine body, but also to understand that you can be a man, but you can very much have feminine poses, or you can have a feminine expression. And it doesn't mean to say that because you're a woman, therefore it should be like, you know, woman, feminine, man, masculine. Both can have complete opposites, and just to be okay with that form of expression.
So if it was like a female model.
Yes.
And a male painter come in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We have... It's a mixed class of all ages. Yeah.
And as the painter...
Well, 18 plus. Okay. Let me make that straight. 18 plus, yeah. Got to keep it safe, you know? Yeah.
So as a painter, like people who go there to paint the models, what do they get out of it?
So from what I understand, and, you know, we collect reviews and stuff, and we get a lot of feedback on what we do. It's a place for them to not only hone in on their artistic skills and to kind of build their portfolio, but it's also a place where they can practice self-expression or just creative expression. It can be very meditative. It can be like a form of just release and stress relief. It's also a place where, you know, you can look at someone and you see their body, you see their flaws, you see every part of them from every single angle. But then you look at them and you're like, wow, you're so brave to be doing this. And I guess it can be inspirational in that sense, because essentially that model is showing a sense of body positivity, so they can kind of, hopefully they'll be able to see that this person is able to, which means that you can as well. And what I love about the class is, and I think this is very I think a similar thing happens in the art world, but whatever you look at and you judge is a direct reflection on how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
So if you look at someone and you'll be like, oh, look at her. Look at how her legs are. Look at her bum, or look at her this, or look at her tits. Then that's you judging her, but you're judging her based on how she looks. But clearly there's something about yourself that needs
work on.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to kind of reflect on who you are as a person, even though you're looking at someone else. Let's bring it back to you, you know? Yeah.
I had it's not exactly the same example, but I said to people before, like, be free, right? Be free, be social, be your authentic self. Don't worry about what people think. And if people want to judge you, want to say something, some hating comments, it's because of them, right? Themselves.
Right.
So I gave an example. For example, let's say if you're in a club or something on a dance floor and you're dancing, you might not be a dancer, but you don't care. You just living your life. You might not be dancing to the beat or whatever, but you're just having the time of your life. You just enjoying yourself dancing, right?
Yeah.
And then there might be these women here like judging you, like, oh, she doesn't even look good, like she thinks she looks good, and all that, that's right. And I'm saying to them, don't worry about what these people want to say, got to say. They just deep down inside, they wish they had your confidence to just not care what people think and just have that confidence, just be free. And it's not them. No, sorry, it's not you. It's them. It's their problem. So you just do you. Don't worry about what they got to say. If they don't like it, don't look. That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think that's powerful within itself. I think that really reveals a lot about a person. So yeah, there's a lot of healing. There's a lot of healing that's in that as well. Again, whether you're privy and whether you're ready to want to take that on, you don't have to take the lesson. You can literally just be there for the fun of it. Because it's also like a girls' night, or it could be a date night, or it could just be something new to do that you've never done before.
Yeah.
But you can take it as deeply as you want to, and you can absorb it and, you know, let it work into the different parts of yourself. It's entirely up to you. But ultimately, if you did want to, the option is there.
So talk me through. So what would I see? So let's say I'm one of the painters. I come in.
Yeah.
What will I see? What will I experience?
Okay. So as you come in, there's going to be like really nice, moody, kind of low lit lighting. You're going to smell like this beautiful aroma of incense that we have just circulating the room. You got the sounds of neo soul and R&B and slow jams in the background. And you are greeted with a smile. Greeted with a smile. And then you're asked to take your seat. You can sit wherever you like. And there's this beautiful like set design in the middle with all these beautiful fabrics with silk and satin and just different fabrics that the light bounces off of in different angles. And it's just very almost sultry.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of it is to kind of boost creative expression and to kind of put you in a space, in a mind space and a heart space where you're ready to just create. Essentially, I like to say to people that in the space that I've created is very much replica of my bedroom. Like, and I know that probably sounds crazy, but it's more like, as an artist, my bedroom is my studio. At the moment, that's my studio. And the way I like to have my studio when I'm painting is I like there to be soft music in the background, and I like the light to be quite dimmed, and there's a spotlight that's directly shining on the canvas. And it's usually nighttime. It's quite dark because that's like my peak hours of creativity, like most creatives, like most artists. So yeah, it's very much replica of the mood and the scene that you would find in my space. And I pretty much just wanted to share that with other people and say, look, welcome to my world. This is where I create. This is how I create. This is the canvas, whether it's the woman or the man in the middle of the room. And today we are going to study the light and the shadow, the darkness, and the highlights of this person. And I guess I connect it to not only looking at shadows and light with, you know, brush strokes and pencil strokes, but also connecting it with life and how without the darkness, there is no light. Or we can't really see the light as much because there hasn't been those times that have really taken us down rock bottom in order for us to really feel the joys and the bliss and the serenity that comes with the higher points in our life. So when you're creating the drawing, add the shade, but think about it as not only does it create more of like a 3D expression and it makes it look more real, but it also creates and adds life into the picture as well. So yeah, there's a lot of, it sounds very artsy fartsy and very poetical and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, yeah, there's many different layers to it.
And because you said, because it's called Paints and Prosecco,
yeah,
do we get Prosecco as we paint?
Well, so when I made the original model, remember when I started off with the paint and sip, the whole original model was I would supply a Prosecco and that would be part of the ticket. And it would be, because originally it was a paint and sip brand more so. I still offer it, but it's just not my main thing that I'm doing at the moment. Okay. I'm kind of in my life drawing bag at the moment. So, no, it's really cool. It's nice. You should come one time.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to lie. Should I even say it here? Something, I don't know, but something about you, but it's making me feel like, shall I model?
Oh!
I don't know. I'm just, it's like a snippet of me like,
yeah,
maybe just to like work on that. Bring the body confidence to another level.
You are so welcome to come through, man. Like
once in a lifetime, why not? Do you know what I mean? Give it a try. Well, I say that now, but let's see. Don't know when.
It's interesting that you say that because a lot of the models that I've worked with, it's their first time ever doing life modeling. So far, I've worked with about, 6 models who have never life modeled in their life ever. So what's even, which I find so astonishing, I find it like, like this is mad. But the first time I've met them is the first time they've come to my class to model. So there's like this, and I've usually, I don't know, probably met them or spoken to them for the first time maybe 5 days before, saying, oh, would you want to do the modeling? Oh yeah, cool, let's come through. 5 days later, I meet them and now they're modeling. So it's a very safe space in the sense that a lot of people do feel really comfortable to come to the platform that I guess I put out for the people, because I make it very known that this is a safe space and I want and to respect the model, respect what they're doing, but also understand that like everyone is doing something that they feel very vulnerable about. So whether you're the person who is doing a life drawing class for the first time and you have no idea what to do and you're feeling anxious, the model is getting naked in front of a class full of people for the first time. They're also feeling very anxious. So there's a lot of first timers in the room, right? And it's just so interesting how they both feel anxious, but yet one's like, do you know what I'm saying? Like one's the model, one's the artist. And it's like, wow, look at that. How interesting. But by the end of it, everyone's happy families and it's great. And it's just.
Sounds like a vibe, you know.
Yeah, man, it's good with the music as well. And, you know, you can have a nice little drink. You can eat if you want. And we have conversations. We speak about different matters. So we just did the life drawing class we did was the Mother's Day edition. And that was really beautiful because we had a pregnant model.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she was 6 months pregnant. And I just loved it because I was like, wow, we're really capturing you in your creator mode right now. Like you're currently creating this life within you as we're drawing, and it's just so like, it's just the irony of life creating life in front of life, you know. There's just something beautiful about it. There was one person in the class who was really struggling with the drawing at the time, and she was like, oh man, I've been sitting here for 15 minutes and I just can't do this part. And then I had to stop her and I had to say, oh, like, which part are you struggling with? She goes, oh, well, you know, like the leg and with the belly. And I'm just struggling. And I was like, I said, it's okay. Like, it's fine. This is part of the process. You're going to find parts that are slightly difficult, but how do you speak to yourself in those moments when it's difficult? Are you telling yourself, I'm rubbish, I'm stupid, I don't know anything? Be compassionate to yourself. And also, if you're struggling, ask for help. I can come, I can show you. I'm an artist. I know, like, I can show you, right? And I gave her this analogy and I said, like, imagine the human body took 9 months to form. How you see yourself now is not how you started when you were conceived. So you're struggling with 15 minutes on how to draw a leg, but understand that it took 9 months to create that leg. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't be hard on yourself if you're not getting something straight away when it's the first time that you're ever doing it. You've never done this before. Give yourself grace. Like, if you're doing something for the first time, know that you're going to mess it up or you're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to struggle. But that comes with the package of being a beginner, of having the courage to try something for the first time. A lot of people kind of expect that, if I do something, I want to get it perfect straight away. But if you've never practiced, how can you expect your brain to understand how to do something when you haven't trained it? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a lot of the time we expect ourselves to do something perfect even though we haven't taken the time. It's like with dancing, right? And you're a dancer, so you know, like the first dance class you ever did, you probably had your ankles like this, right? When it's supposed to be pointed, right? CJ tells us all the time, yeah? So little things like this, it's like you have to condition your body. You have to condition movement. You have to condition your brain to know how to do these things. It's not instant, but you will get there. It takes practice. So yeah, little bits like that.
I know, I love that because it just goes to show how healing the whole journey is. It's like the whole experience, the whole experience is just from painting itself. You are learning so much about yourself, learning how to love yourself a little bit more, how to basically have compassion for yourself, not to judge yourself, and be patient with yourself. It's actually a really good experience on how to develop a more loving relationship with yourself. When will you model for live drawing?
Oh, she had to cover that one. I am not going to put a time on that. Just because, I'm still working through that. But we'll see. We'll see. Life can be full of surprises. You never know. But yeah, what I will say is, if you are someone who is on that journey of trying to become your better self and to step into your higher self and step into your higher power, to really take the time to just look into yourself and dig deep. I know that can feel scary. I know that can be terrifying and painful, but it is so worth it for what can come out on the other end. And know that by doing this, you're not only creating a happier and more fulfilling and more self-actualizing life for yourself, but you're also feeding into others, the people around you, your friends, your family, the children, or the children that you may one day have, the generations that go way beyond you. And you may be the generational curse breaker. You may be the person who starts off that journey into becoming and being more of a rounded and more holistic person. And if you do have the courage and the bravery to do that, then good on you. It's not easy. It's not easy. It is a journey. There may be times where you relapse. There's going to be times where you might self-sabotage. You might go back on yourself. You're going to have to pick yourself up again. It's not going to be smooth sailing. but know that what you're doing is for the greater good. And if you can't see it now, then it will be something that will live in your legacy.
How can people know more about Paint Prosecco, go to it, or even be in touch with you, connect with you?
Yeah, so if you want to be in touch with me, you can follow me on my Instagram. That is Ososhar, OOHSOSHAR, bit of a mouthful. Or if you want to connect with me on my life drawing page, it's Paints and Prosecco UK. That's on Instagram as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I've got a website, nadialamaani.com. That's my actual name, by the way, Nadia Lamaani, even though the Ososhar is a bit confusing for a lot of people, but we just stick with it. It's all good.
Thank you so much for coming on. I enjoyed the conversation, and it was actually I learned a lot about art itself.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, for holding the space, and yeah, for inviting me on your show, man. I wish you all the best with it.
Thank
You're doing
you.
amazing things for the community. You're really giving back, and you're helping people to see their own light and to see their own growth.
Yeah.
So good on you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well
so
done.
lovely. Thank you. You're making me blush. Thank you so much. Okay, so if you enjoyed this, you know the drill. Please like, show us some love, share it. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and on Spotify. And yeah, see you at the next episode.
Hey.